Welcome back. Hurricane season is less than 20 days away. We often show you the damage from the disasters, but the recovery isn't overnight. Communities in North Carolina are still recovering from Hurricane Helene. Businesses, families, and even farmers are left with the aftermath from these disasters. So I'm joined now by Fox Business contributor Phil Flynn. Phil, thanks for being with us again. I actually just spoke to the director for the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project. The destruction left behind from Hurricane Helene continues to impact those small farmers in western North Carolina. I want to share with you what Sarah Hart had to say about all this. Take a listen.
You know, farmers are so resourceful and resilient, and they're doing what they need to do to rebuild and what they need to do to get through this season and keep going. But farming is a business that operates so close to the bottom line that there just isn't a lot of room right now for anything else to go wrong. And so farmers are sort of left wondering if the next hit, whether that is supply chain issues or market, restaurant or market closures or another weather event, will be the one that they can't bounce back from. I think overall there's a sense of exhaustion about what this recovery path looks like.
Phil, what stood out to me when Sarah was talking, what resonated was farmers saying no more room left for anything to go wrong. So what can small business farmers do to protect themselves financially against a potential future disaster?
You know, it's always difficult, especially in this area of the country where you don't normally have this kind of a storm. But what you really need to do for a lot of these farmers, if they can afford it, is to get crop insurance, right? And if they can't afford it, call the USDA and the government, and there are a lot of different programs that can help you with your protection. Now, some people have single crop insurance. Some insurance programs cover a lot of crops. But as a producer, that's not even going to potentially cover all your losses. Most of these farmers in this area were underinsured. The key thing, I think, diversify your crops, work together, but it really is that resilience that that lady just spoke about that really keeps those farmers going and keeps the country going as well.
Yeah, and Phil, we're going to stay on the topic of farming, but this may not seem traditional farming to many, and many may not realize this. North Carolina is actually the second largest Christmas tree producing state in the entire United States. So there were Christmas tree farms that, of course, suffered extreme damage because of what happened. It was the fields, it was their equipment, and of course the supply. So for you, do you foresee kind of the price tag in the Christmas tree market skyrocketing this upcoming season?
I think it is, and it's so sad because you look at the pictures of that part of the country with the trees. I think that's where they invented those romantic Christmas movies, right, behind the trees.
Yeah.
And no, you've lost a lot of that. And people have to realize to replace the trees that were lost, it could take 6 to 12 years. And then the soil, it was impacted by sludge and dirt, and some of those trees may never come back. And the impact on the Christmas tree market for the future could impact Christmases all the way to 2036. So it's going to be a long time here, and it's going to be tough for the live tree market.
Yeah, and Phil, we have this graphic to show you the cost of Helene. And team, if we could show that, because we just learned that NOAA eliminated the billion-dollar disaster database. So when you're looking at Hurricane Helene, specifically, that cost $78+ billion in damage, the seventh costliest storm on record. So NOAA eliminating this billion-dollar disaster database, should this be a concern leading into the upcoming hurricane season? Is it now private companies that kind of have to team up to figure out how big this disaster is?
Yes, I think that's the way it's going to go. And there are people in the industry that are very worried about this, in the insurance industry, in the government. But there's also been some criticism of this agency as well. They think that they haven't done as good of a job, predicting the scope of these disasters. And that's why insurance companies sometimes, were underprepared, from some of these worst case scenarios. It kind of reminds me when we went to the space sector, and then, NASA got out of the space mission and we put it into the public sector. There were some good things that came out of it, some bad things. But make no mistake about it, the private sector did find a way to do things cheaper. Look at Elon Musk, for example, with those rockets. And there's new technology coming on the boards. This program's been in place since the 1980s. It could use a bit of an overhaul. And with artificial intelligence, maybe we'll find a better way to get this data in the future, and it might even be more accurate. We'll have to wait and see.
And Phil, we've been focusing a lot on prior seasons, right? You can learn from that. The upcoming season is going to be the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. That's going to be in August, right? So 20 years removed, but that was the most costly storm ever to hit the United States back in 2005. If everybody wants to see this at home, we have a graphic showing you just how costly this was. And we think about New Orleans, right? Ground zero for all of this, how expensive that is. I mean, this is over $200 billion in damage, almost unfathomable what that's like. I wanted to ask you, 20 years removed from this catastrophic storm, is there still a price tag that everyday families are feeling from Katrina still?
I think it is. I think it's in the energy industry. And believe it or not, some of it is positive. And sometimes we learn from these disasters. Yes, the economic hit from Katrina was terrible, right? And we hope we never see anything like that ever again. But we learned a lot. For example, the energy industry, right? The devastating impact on that industry, we learned a lot. How to produce oil safely during these storms, how to evacuate people ahead of storms, how to prepare the rigs. So the storms that have come after Katrina never will do the same type of damage that Katrina did. And I think that's true on land as well. I think we are more prepared from what we learned from the mistakes of the past. And that's the good part of Katrina. But it's still a warning sign that we can't take these storms, for granted. And I remember Katrina very well. Going into that holiday weekend, everybody thought, well, the storm is probably going to miss New Orleans. When that changed that night, everything changed, and the markets really felt it when the markets opened on Monday.
Yeah, and you brought up the energy portion of this. I know the energy sector is right in your wheelhouse. That's a passion of yours. So in the upcoming weeks and months ahead, we'll be talking closely with you to kind of get that insight on what these storms could potentially do. Senior market analyst at Price Future Group and Fox Business contributor Phil Flynn. Thank you for being with us here on Fox Weather.